All right, one thing that's also taught that's counterproductive is people will tell you, keep your heels down. Ever heard that? Keep your heels down. Have you ever heard that? Never? Okay, if you've ever taken lessons in our country, Western or English, that's going to be the big thing you hear other than sitting upright. Keeping that plumb bob all the way through your body, keeping upright is one of them. The other one is keeping your heels down. What they're trying to do in constructiveness is they're trying to get you your seat. Without a good seat, you can't be a good rider. So they're trying to get your seat by getting your heels down and letting your seat stay in that seat. Why is your seat coming out of it? First of all, because they're making you sit like that all the time. So automatically, they're having to come up with the secondary thing to help you get something you should have gotten because you were sitting in the proper position. So growing your heels down is the method. That's what it's called. Keep your heels down. You'll have a better seat. This is the problem, and let's try it. You guys sit down and let's try this. You can feel it right there, not even on a horse. You won't be able to push your heels down too much because you're on the ground. See, here I can push them down further because I'm balancing on the stirrups. I want you just to think through and say, I need to keep my heels down. Okay, what are you doing with your body?
Tensing.
Ta-da! You can't ride a horse well if you're tensed. You're rigid. You're also...
They take it.
Yeah, that's right. And see, what you're doing, you're just going right back into the cradle position in some other form. Okay, so that's not going to help us. Now, what are we trying to get? Our seat. Well, we're going to get some of our seat because we're sitting right. The second way we're going to get our seat, though, is we're going to learn to do the opposite of that, thinking-wise. Now, just relax. Now I want you to lift up your toes. Just think, I'm going to lift up my toes. Are you tense? What just happened? The same thing. This is what happened. When I lift up my toes, there's nothing now, which would be these, pushing me out, so I now have my seat. See, I'm not pushing. I don't need to use these stirrups to push on. That removes my seat. That's like every time you push on them, they add the training wheels back to your bike. And then when you come back down, they take them off. And then they're gonna keep you in balance somehow by standing here. By lifting my toes, though, I'm getting rid of my stirrups. See the space under them? It's almost as though I have no stirrups, because you don't need stirrups to ride. They're a counterfeit piece. They're not good to learn to use them. So by keeping my toes up, I'm not using my stirrups. And I'm going to do one other remarkable thing that you don't get by keeping your heels down because you tensed up your whole body. By lifting up your toes, go ahead and try it. Lift up your toes again. You've just now set your hamstrings at the end of their run. They can't do nothing else. That direction. This is what you can't do while your toes are up. Oh, right there it hurts. You've just now stopped yourself with toes down of cradling. So now with my toes up, I'm not using my stirrups. I'm also triggering into my own brain, don't cradle, that hurts. Don't cradle, that hurts, because my hamstrings are talking to me. That's a huge piece of your body, your hamstrings. And when they're set with the toes up, you can't lean forward without hurting. Your own brain's going to tell you, don't do that. So now we're reversing our instinct of doing this. Okay? And what do we get? The magical formula out of both of those things is our seat is better because it's now sitting in the saddle. So now, let's try to put all this together. Our toes are up. Our hamstrings are set. We're not going to cradle. We're not going to use our stirrups. We have our seat. And now, because we're not going to ignore the law of motion, we're actually going to set our back to the 1 o'clock position, approximately, on a clock. Instead of midnight, we're going to go to 1 o'clock, which means we're going to lean back towards the momentum that's pushing us. So equal and opposite. That means we can stay in balance easier and faster. And what does it do for our confidence level? Within minutes, if you can do this, have the confidence and courage to say, I'm going to try it, you're going to be a good rider almost instantaneously because you're now in balance. You cannot be a good rider if you are out of balance. You cannot be. There's so many people on videos even that are riding like the wind, and they're all over this place, and you could drive a freight train underneath their seat to the seat of the saddle. You can't be a good rider because that means there's no way this seat can come off of that seat unless you're doing that. Or using your inner thighs to push up. You can't do it. You got to have some way to lift. Of course, the horse is going to lift you some, okay? But to lift constantly, okay, it's just too difficult. So let's see if this works. I'm going to trot her off, and I'm going to remain in the position. Whoa, don't slide on me now. See, when I keep my toes up and my back to the 1 o'clock position, my butt is moving because of the momentum, but it's not moving out of the seat tremendously. Now I'm going to sit upright. See, I'm not moving my body. She's moving my body now. Is my body moving more upright than it is leaning back? The reason for that is the law of physics, the law of motion. She's moved me up and forward, and because I'm in the correct position leaning back for the law, not for someone's opinion of what you should do, the basic law is true or else it's false. I'm going to stay in balance longer, so I'm going to look like I'm in balance longer. I'm going to feel like I'm in balance longer than I am sitting upright, where I'm having to work all that momentum that I can't control, which is part of my body being out of control. So I've immediately fixed most of my trouble like that. As Yoda said in Empire Strikes Back, you must unlearn what you have learned. You must unlearn it because it's a false doctrine. It's not true to our laws of the earth. That's as simple as it gets.